The belief, as expressed by the observer, was that the wind averaged between 110 to 120 miles an hour is as good as information as is obtainable. Nothing so exemplified the impotency of man as the storm. Massive buildings were crushed like eggshells, great timbers were carried through the air as though they were of no weight, and the wind and waves swept everything before them until their appetite for destruction was satiated and their force spent. A remarkable feature about the storm is the disparity in the depth of water in different portions of the city, and the undoubted fact that water subsided on the north side of the city hours before they did on the south side. These peculiarities are explained by the topography of the island. Broadway, which marks the center or middle of the city proper, is on the ridge from which the land slopes on one side toward the bay and on the other toward the Gulf. The water from the Gulf passed over this ridge and swept on toward the bay during the most furious stages of the storm, but the full energy of wind and water were directed upon that portion of the city between the Gulf and the Broadway Ridge. Of the lives lost in the city, 90% were in the district named. How many lives were sacrificed to the Storm King will never be known. The census taken in June showed that Galveston had a population of 38,000. Outside city limits on Galveston Island, there were 1,600 persons living. The dead in the city exceeded 5,000. Of the 1,600 living outside the city limits, 1,200 were lost. This frightful mortality, 75% outside the city, is explained by the fact that most of the people there lived in frail structures and had no places of comparative safety to take refuge in. In the mainland district swept by the storm, at least 100 persons perished. It is safe, therefore, to state that at least 7,000 lives were lost. So, I really think that's just a very interesting passage to read through. And if you ever have a chance to stumble onto the book, I know it's been reprinted as well. I just happened to find an original copy. It's out there, so you can read it, and there's just tons more information on the storm from that. But you can just kind of get the sense of, what it was like, as good as anyone could probably explain to anyone.